Hi everyone, welcome back to Russian for Beginners. Today we're going to be learning how to decline adjectives into the dative case in Russian. So we'll be covering both regular and soft ending adjectives, and there'll also be a few exercises for you to practice what we go through in the lesson. I hope you find this video useful. Please like and subscribe if you do, and let's get started. So we will look at a range of adjectives today, but these are the three that I'm going to be focusing on as my example adjectives. So we've got новый, meaning new, интересный, meaning interesting, and большой, meaning big. Here we have our adjectives declined into the dative case in the masculine form. So these adjectives would only appear when they're describing or characterizing masculine nouns. Let's take a look at how they decline. So новый will become новому, новому. And remember that second O is not stressed, so it sounds a bit more like an A. Новому, новому, новому. Similarly, интересный will become интересному, интересному, интересному. And finally, большой will become большому, большому, большому. Let's take a look at some example sentences. So if you haven't already done so, I would recommend checking out my previous video on the dative case, which covers the declension of nouns in the dative and also explains when and how to use the dative case in Russian. You'll find the link to that video in the top right corner of this screen. So let's go through our first sentence here. Они подошли к новому мосту. They went towards the new bridge. So as you can see, the adjective that's describing the noun is also declining. In English, new doesn't change at all, but in Russian, новый and any adjective always has to agree in case and number with the noun that it is describing. Therefore, it's к новому мосту. It would never be к новый мосту if новый is describing most, meaning bridge. Они подошли к новому мосту. So in our second sentence, we find the verb подойти again, meaning to approach or get to. But this time it is used more figuratively, in the sense of reaching a certain part of a story or speech. Он подошел к самому интересному. He was getting to the most interesting part. And in the third sentence, we find the noun мужчина, meaning man, мужчина. So this declines like a feminine noun, but it is actually a masculine noun. So the adjectives which describe it must decline in their masculine form. As we can see, we have новому, which is in the masculine, and then мужчине, which declines like a feminine noun. It can be a bit confusing, but there are just a handful of nouns that decline like this, and they're called natural masculine nouns. So, позвонить, звонить, meaning to call, requires the dative case, which is why новый мужчина is in the dative here. Я позвонил новому мужчине. Я позвонил новому мужчине. I called the new man. Look at how feminine adjectives decline in the dative. So the feminine новая, новая will become новой, новой in the dative. Интересная, интересная becomes интересной, интересной, интересной. And большая, большая will become большой, большой. Now we'll go through some example sentences to see feminine adjectives and nouns in the dative case in context. So the first sentence is Мы подарили книгу интересной женщине. Мы подарили, that means we gifted or we gave as a gift. Книгу, a book, and that's in the accusative case. Мы подарили книгу интересной женщине. To the interesting woman. Интересной женщине. Они шли по новой улице. Они шли по новой улице. They were walking along, or they walked along the big street. Они подошли к большой площади. Они подошли к большой площади. They approached or went up to the big square. Now we'll move on to neuter forms of adjectives in the dative, and these are exactly the same as masculine forms of adjectives in the dative, so it's not too complicated. As you can see, the neuter новое will change to новому in the dative, новому. And интересное goes to интересному, интересному, just as the masculine. And finally, большое will go to большому, большому, just as the masculine. Moving on to examples of neuter adjectives and nouns in the dative case, we have these three sentences. So in the first and second, благодаря and согласно require the dative case, which is why the dative case is used. So we have благодаря новому окну, thanks to the new window, мы можем видеть море. We are able to see the sea. Согласно интересному мнению нашего эксперта. According to the interesting opinion of our expert. And finally, our old friend подойти. Она подошла к большому зданию. She went up to, or she approached, the big building. The last form that we're going to look at today is the plural. Masculine, neuter and feminine adjectives in the dative all end uim. So новые will change to новым, интересные will change to интересным. Большие is a bit different because of a spelling rule. So after the letters r, ch, sh, sh, g, k and ch, you cannot have the vowel ui. So it's got to change to a softer e. Therefore, the nominative plural is большие and the dative plural is большим. We'll look more at soft ending adjectives later on in this lesson, so don't worry too much about that now. Here are some example sentences of adjectives in the dative plural. Мы играем по новым правилам. We are playing by new rules. Новым правилам. Они путешествуют по интересным местам. They travel to interesting places. And ложь приводит к большим проблемам. Lying or lies can cause major problems or will lead to major problems. Here we have a quick fill in the gaps exercise for you to practice declining adjectives and nouns in the dative case in Russian. So let's start with our first sentence. Please help that old passenger. Пожалуйста, please. Помогите этому, help this. And then we have старый пассажир. So the noun пассажир is masculine. How do you think then старый пассажир will decline into the dative case? It will be старому пассажиру. Пожалуйста, помогите этому старому пассажиру. Please help that old passenger. Now, the next sentence is the old dog needs love. Now remember, нужно requires the dative case for the subject. So it will be старой собаке нужна любовь. Старой собаке нужна любовь. The third sentence, Мы идем к. Now, note that старые здания is in the plural, so it will require the dative plural, which is старым зданиям. Мы идем к старым зданиям. We are going towards the old buildings. The fourth sentence, этот цвет ближе к, чем к. Now, цвет means color, so the sentence is this color, ближе к, it is closer to red, and we'd use the adjective in Russian, than to orange. So in the dative that will be этот цвет ближе к красному, чем к оранжевому. And finally, the fifth sentence is очень близко к и. So very close to the Red Square and the Bolshoi Theatre. And близко к requires the dative, so it will be Красной площади и Большому театру. Очень близко к Красной площади и Большому театру. So very well done if you got those correct. Let's look at soft ending adjectives in the dative now. There are a few ways in which the declension of adjectives in Russian changes slightly to become softer. The first way is something we've already come across in this lesson with the adjective большой. Because of the Russian spelling rule, which states that y cannot come after the letters g, k, ch, zh, ch, sh, or sh, it is necessary to replace y with the softer e in plural endings. Here we have the example of маленький, meaning small, which declines in the same way as большой. As you can see, the only difference in the declension from regular adjectives is found in the plural because of this spelling rule. Secondly, most adjectives ending zhi, chi, shi, or shi decline in the same way as хороший, meaning good. In this declension, the letter y is seen where o would usually be, and again the soft e is used instead of the hard u in the plural endings. Finally, there is a particular set of adjectives called soft stem adjectives. It's important in general to be aware of these types of adjectives, but in the dative, fortunately, they just decline in the same way as хороший. So синий will be синему, синей, синему, and синим in the dative case. Here's another quick exercise for you to practice declining into the dative case in Russian. On the left, we have a list of soft or partially soft adjectives in Russian. In the blue, we have the translation of the adjectives. In the middle, I've written in brackets the form in which I'd like you to decline the adjectives, and on the right is where the answers will be revealed. So let's have a look at our first word. Последний, последний. This means last or final, and it's a soft stem adjective. So in the masculine form, that will become последнему, последнему. Then we have долгий, meaning long or of long duration. And in the feminine, that becomes долгий, долгий. Настоящий, настоящий. In the plural dative, that will be настоящим. Поздний, поздний, meaning late. In the neuter form, that will become позднему, позднему. Then we have горячий, meaning hot, горячий. And in the feminine, that becomes горячий, горячий. Синий, another soft stem adjective. In the plural, that becomes синим, синим. Свежий, свежий. And then in the masculine, that will become свежему, свежему. Зимний, another soft stem adjective. Зимний becomes зимний in the feminine. Зимний. Finally, ruski, I'm sure you're familiar with this word already. Ruski will become ruskamu in the neuter. Ruskamu, ruskamu. So well done if you got any of those right. They were really difficult, so really well done. So that's all that we have time for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know in the comment section and I'll get right back to you. Thanks everyone and have a lovely day.